9:02 a.m. on Thursday, June 22nd, 2022, or 2023, excuse me. We'll call this meeting of the Animal Service Center of the Mesilla Valley Board of Directors meeting to order. And if you all will join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and if I can get a roll call, please.
Board Member Ward is absent. Board Member Demouche? Here. Board Member Macias is absent. Board Member Flores is absent presently. Board Member Shayla Hernandez?
Here.
Board Member Gandara, absent. Board Member Karan?
Here.
Chairman Sanchez?
Present.
And for the record, Board Member Macias has entered the chambers.
Very good. Thank you. And on to item 3, are there any changes to the agenda? I'm seeing shaking heads, so no. All right, then if we can get a motion to approve the agenda, please.
Move to approve.
A motion by Councilor Corn.
Second.
A second by Commissioner Shaljo Hernandez. Are there any questions on the agenda? All right, hearing none. If I can get a roll call, please.
Board Member Macias?
Yes.
Thank you. Board Member Karan?
Yes.
Board Member Shayla Hernandez?
Yes.
Chair Sanchez?
Yes.
And for the record, Board Member Flores has entered.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so then we're on to agenda item number 4, which is the approval of the minutes from the regular ASCMV board meeting held on May 25th, 2023. If I can get a motion for approval and a second for approval.
Move to approve. Corin?
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Councilor Corn and a second by Commissioner Shaljo Hernandez. Are there any questions, changes to the meeting minutes from May 25th, 2023? Okay. And if I can have a roll call, please, on the minutes from May 25th, 2023.
Board Member Macias?
Yes.
Board Member Flores? We're voting on the minutes, Ms. Flores.
Abstain.
Thank you. Board Member Karan?
Yes.
Board Member Shayla Hernandez?
Yes.
Chair Sanchez?
Yes.
And for the record, Board Member Gandara has entered.
Good morning, Mayor Pro Tem. Did you want to vote on the meeting minutes?
Yes.
Okay.
And yes.
Thank you. All right, those meeting minutes are approved. All right, then we'll move on to our reports and presentation section. We'll, from our Coalition for Pets and People, we will have Ms. Sherry Duran from No Pits Left Behind this morning. If you want to come on up and to the podium.
Actually, I believe there's been a change in plans.
Okay.
My name's Jackie Minicky. So I don't look like a pit person, do I? And I'm the cat lady, so
Okay, well then no problem.
Really big change. I brought a little handout. Share them on my screen.
Thank you. Yeah, there you go.
For the record, I'm Jackie Minicky, and I'm with Kitty Glitter, which is a project of Project Save a Kitten, and we also work with Cats Meow. So what I'm talking to you about is glitter. Jewelry, we do an annual jewelry sale for anybody who has wives, children, aunts, uncles, or loves jewelry themselves. What we do is we ask people to donate jewelry they no longer wear, and then we clean it up, price it, and sell it, and raise money to rescue cats. We support a number of cat organizations, Cats Meow. Actually, the ASCMV gets money from us some. Broken Promises, all these different groups that are small groups without fundraising arms. We raise money and help with cats. So in the last 18 months, we've raised about $25,000. So we really do work hard on these projects to sell lots of jewelry. The next sale is October 20th and 21st, and it will be at Peace Lutheran Church on Missouri. So if you have donations, you can take them to Better Life Pet Foods during their business hours. We are delighted to receive them. I go pick them up every week or two. Or if you want to start your early holiday shopping, you can come to our sale. Donations, I said where that is. Las Cruces estate sales and Gale Rivera also do sales for us throughout the year. If there's room at an estate sale for us to have a room to ourselves, we get to put up our jewelry and make a little bit more money. And Keith Austin of Austin's Jewelry is very kind to us. He puts batteries in our watches, and if I find things that are gold or silver or might be valuable jewelry, he goes through and gives us ideas of what the prices would be. He doesn't conduct actual appraisals, that would cost us, but for generosity, he helps us know what our jewelry should be sold for. Like all nonprofit groups, we are always seeking volunteers, either volunteers to help price jewelry and create the sale or volunteers on the day of the sale. And let's see, the money gets used for cats and kittens specifically, and it's for everything from spays and neuters to medications, because kittens get sick a lot, to transports when we can transport them out of here to a place that actually would love to have lots of kittens. We already have plenty. So, are there any questions about Kitty Glitter and what we do?
Yes. Thank you, Jackie. Good morning. I'm super excited. Sorry, I'm just going for it.
Go for it.
Okay. I have a few quick questions, and actually you said something that made me think. First of all, my jewelry is not mostly in the fancy range.
None of it, very little of it
Okay,
is.
so.
Mostly we get costume.
Okay.
And it's beautiful.
It's beautiful, and obviously I wear various things. And then also you mentioned watches, which I had never thought of, but I have a whole collection of fancy well, again, not fancy. I'm not in a submarine at the bottom of the Atlantic. Fancy. I'm gonna save all the kittens with that. But that's a great note to think that watches, if we've all switched to our fancy electronic
Digital
watches,
things,
and you
yes.
have someone to replace the batteries, then that's great. So watches are included as well. Costume jewelry, watches.
All kinds of costume. It's lots of fun. We do get gold and silver. It's lovely. But of course, most of the donations are costume jewelry,
Okay.
which can be delightful fun because it's everything from contemporary to vintage. My favorite is rhinestones. If anybody's known me very long, they know I wear a lot of rhinestone brooches. And so we get everything.
Everything. Okay, thank you. So I have to expand my mind. That's great. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Thank you, Counselor. Do you have a Facebook page or a website or anything that people can get more information or even be able to follow the events? I know you said here October 20th, 21st is the next sale, but I just didn't know if there was anywhere that we could point people in the direction of to get more information.
Yes, there is. We don't have a personal Facebook page because we're just kind of a little organization that is a team that raises the money, but Cats Meow usually has all our information about what's going on, and they will be posting it. And I do have still my page, Jackie Minicky, and of course all of it gets posted on my page so that I get as many people as possible to come out.
Great. No, and I appreciate, I think it's really innovative and different of how you contribute here into the community, and I think being able to raise the funds to help the animals in the community, and I think it's just a testament to how many community partners it takes and how many are here in the community that are working for the betterment of our animals and in just all the different ways. So I really appreciate it, Ms. Menicky. Are there any other questions for Ms. Menicky? Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for coming and presenting to us today.
Oh, and I'll just point out, we've probably been doing this for like 8 years or more. It's typical. And of course, I've been doing rescue of animals in the community for more than 30 years. So there's a lot of dedication in this community to the animals and to cats in particular.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so then we'll move on to our city and county ACO reports. I don't know. All right, we'll start with the county.
See if I could find it on here. No.
Sorry about that. I didn't get it pulled up here. If we get to the folders.
Glad you know what's happening.
Okay. Where is the
Thank you, Bernice. Morning, Mr. Chair Sanchez and board. My name is Brian Halsey. I'll be giving the Doñana County Animal Monthly Report for May. For our reported stray animals, we had 277 reported stray animals for the month of May. We were able to pick up 257 stray animals. Out of those animals, we were able to pick up 100 stray cats and 157 stray dogs. We had 11 sick or injured animals. Out of those, there were 6 cats and 5 dogs. And unfortunately, for the month of May, we had 31 owner surrenders, which I'll go into more in depth when we get to that slide. This is our reported stray animal calls, our 4-year comparison. And this is our 4-year field return to owners. For the month of May, we had 29, which went up from April. These are additional animals picked up. We had 0 cats that were owner surrendered. We had 31 dogs. We had 11 sick and injured animals. We had 3 welfare holds. Again, for the new board members, welfare hold animals are animals that if Border Patrol or a sheriff or any policeman were to detain anybody and they had animals in their car, we go and pick them up as a welfare hold. So we had 3 of those for May. We had 8 shelter quarantines. We had 3 home quarantines. We didn't have any cases for that month, but we do have 1 animal currently awaiting court date in our facility as of right now. We had 27 diverted intakes, and the new 2 additions to the slides that you guys were wanting. We had 451 general educations for the month of May, and we had a total of 791 calls for May. This is a new, kind of a new slide. Board Member Xiaojo Hernandez, you were wanting something with the districts, so we kind of combined 2 slides to make it a little bit easier for you. So for District 1, it shows how many cats and dogs in the total that we picked up. Same thing for all the other districts. For District 2, we had a total of 55. For District 3, we had a total of 49. For District 4, we had a total of 56. For District 5, we had a total of 47. District 6, we had a total of 12. And District 7, we had a total of 34. And since it's beginning to get a little warmer this year already, our areas that usually when it gets warmer, usually it's District 2, 3, and 4. Their numbers were a little bit higher because I don't know why, but every time it gets warmer, it seems like those 3 districts are hot districts for those when it gets warmer, and it seems like it gets reversed when it gets colder. So these are our stray cats picked up by district. And again, you can see in District 2, which is the green bar, we had a lot of people that were trapping in District 2 for cats, and that's why that one's way higher than what it normally is. And these are our stray dogs per district. Again, usually it's District 2, 3, and 4 that are usually the higher ones when it gets warmer. And this is more in depth for the 31 owner surrenders. We had 4 owner surrenders that they just weren't able to keep the dogs on the property and they didn't want to get cited, so they owner surrendered. We had 3 that were vicious or were involved in livestock attacks. We had 1 that was aggressive, 1 that was sick and injured. And then the big one, why our numbers were so up, we had 17 that they just had too many animals, and all 17 came from the same house. And that's why our numbers were so big for owner surrenders for this month of May. It was, if I remember correctly, it was some mother dogs that had several litters, and that's why that one's so high. We had 2 that the people were moving and weren't able to take their animals with them. We had 2 that they just weren't able to take care of, and then we had 1 that, according to the owner, the dog was just playing too rough with their kid, and they didn't want their kid to get injured. And for that, I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Halsey. Are there any questions on the county report? Thank you. The only comment I really have was that I think the last
Yeah.
item you noted seems pretty ridiculous with the place too rough with their kids. And I know the Animal Service Center has an option as well to help with, we can look at training and doing that, but it just takes the calls. But I think a lot of people don't have the patience, take the patience, take the accountability and ownership with their pets to even take the time to even go that far. Because I think once, if they would do that, they would have a totally different, attitude, and even just working, it just takes work with their animals. So,
Yeah.
thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Any other questions?
Morning, Gino.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Wonderful. How are you doing,
I
sir?
am great, thank you.
It's favorite day of the month, then.
Good morning, board member Sanchez, members of the board. My name is Gino Jimenez. I'm the animal control supervisor for the city of Las Cruces. I'm going to give you our May 2023 report. So, City of Animal Control officers responded to 584 calls for strays. 203 of those were GOA. We were able to apprehend 381. Excuse me. Of those, we were also able to apprehend 337 that were impounded at the shelter. 186 were dogs, and 148 were cats. 47, we were able to field RTO those. 17, we were unsuccessful. Those were animals that had some sort of identification. However, for some reason, we weren't able to return them back to the owners, and I'll go into that in a separate slide later. So we had a total of 64 identifiable animals. Our next slide is our 3-year comparison for strays. You'll see 584 for last month, bringing us to a total of 2,537 for the year. Our next slide is our 3-year field RTO rate. Again, we did 47 field RTOs, bringing us to a total of 204 for the year. Here is the graph for our community cat program. ACOs responded to 62 cats and traps, and of those, 7 were already community cats, so those were already released. So you can see that our numbers aren't as big, as high as they were last year, but I think because this is like the first year and a half that we were able to keep this data, we're going to see some up and down markers for the first couple of years. Next is a new slide, and I believe that this is at the request of Mayor Pro Tem Gandara for our general education calls. So we did respond to 1,281 calls for last month. Of those, the ones that the officers had contact with citizens, we take those as an educational opportunity. So for the total for the year is we have responded to 5,890 calls so far. Next is our reason for owner surrendering animals. 4 for dogs for aggression, 3 dogs that didn't get along with their other pets, 3 dogs for health issues, 2 cats the owner could no longer afford, 2 dogs the owner could no longer afford, 1 dog for lifestyle change, 1 dog for behavioral issues, 2 dogs owner's health was deteriorating, 1 dog for severe injuries, 1 dog had seizures, and it was a euthanasia request. 1 dog, the new landlord would not allow the dog at his new apartment. And finally, 1 dog where the owner could not afford veterinary care. And finally, these are reasons that we were unable to field RTO. Those are the 17 from the first slide. 12, there was no contact by phone or at the residence. 1, this one was unusual, is 1 microchip had 3 different phone numbers and 3 different addresses. And we were unsuccessful with all 3 numbers and all 3 addresses. 1 was an El Paso address. 4, the chips were not registered. And 1, the foster did not want the dog back. So highlights, we had no presentations for the month of May. That doesn't mean that we haven't reached out to the community and said that we are able for or willing to do presentations. As a matter of fact, we have, I have assigned a school resource officer. So once the school year comes, we will be able to reach out to those elementary schools and start doing our presentation there. And the 242 hours are the hours, 224 hours, should say, are the hours that ACO spent in some sort of training. With that, I will stand for any questions.
Are there any questions for Supervisor Jimenez? Council Flores.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Gino. Thank you for everything you do, as well as our county person. Thank you so much. So the 224 hours, are those to date for 2023 or?
No, ma'am. Councilor, Board Member Sanchez, Councilor Flores, that is just for the month of May.
Wow. And then when you do the, what is it you cover in the educational opportunities when you're able to speak with the owners? How much time do you spend with them? Are they receptive? Do you educate them as to resources, that sort of stuff?
Board Member Sanchez, Councilor Flores, it depends on the call, why we are there. So let's just say, for example, it's for a cat in a trap. So the officers are going to spend time with that citizen and educate them on the community cat program, what it entails, the purpose of it, why we're trying to do this to reduce euthanasia at the shelter, whatever the issue may be at that time. It's if the officer has contact with the citizen for a stray dog call, then the officer is going to focus on restraint issues, vaccination, and microchip. So it's basically focused on why we are there at that time.
Okay. And then there was a dog that had like 17 puppies, or a bunch of puppies, and all those were taken because there were too many puppies. I can't remember the page, but when people are surrendering their pets due to the fact that they've had, multiple litters and there's just too many, is there any recourse that they may have, or do you advise them or recommend as to what they can do?
Chair Sanchez and Councilor Flores, yes, that call that you're talking about in particular was the county slide. However, that scenario is not separate, not different to us. So I can tell you what I think we would do, and which would fall in line with what they would do, is we would educate them first, and most is on spaying and neuter that animal, because those are obviously an unwanted litter, and it's only going to add to the responsibility of the Animal Service Center, so that we know that they're already at limit. So what we as officers are going to do is educate that citizen on spaying and neutering, and obviously there's the legal stuff, or a permit for keeping anything over 4 animals, where the city requires a permit. So we're not saying that we're not going to take them in, but all we're going to educate them on is, if you plan on taking them in, the limit is 7, and you need a permit for those 7.
Wow.
So there's many, many topics, many different areas that we educate citizens on just one particular call.
Okay, and please forgive my ignorance, but are there any organizations, any national organizations that do provide free spay and neuter sterilization services?
Board Member Sanchez, Councilor Flores, not that I am aware of. However, we do refer them to the Animal Service Center, who I believe has all those resources available. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, Gino.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your service, and thank you as well.
Thank you, Councilor Flores. And Gino, I just wanted to add, and I think along those lines, I think on the education, and this would also even go to us in the county, is there anything that the ACOs do in terms of education with, I take it back from like the county side, just as an example, when you're out on a call and a resident is trying to, for in a case like this, the dog is too rough, I think last month we talked about that they were peeing or eliminating inside. Is there any type of education that we do to say, hey, maybe, we don't, want to do a field surrender at this point, because, hey, maybe there's an opportunity for you to work with this animal before turning it over to an ACO. I know it's different interaction between the ACOs and the ASCMV at the actual center, but I didn't know if you all do education on that, or is it just you guys automatically take them in? I'll start with Gino and then Mr. Halsey, if you don't mind. I apologize to mix the two, but I'm just curious to see if there's ways in which the ACOs might be able to help, even though you still have the call. Is there a way to do education and inform them of some of the programs that maybe that are done and coordinated through the ASCMV?
Chair Sanchez, and I think, I believe my answer is going to fall in line with the county, but I'm not going to answer for them. But yes, sir, we do. We do not want to take these animals away from a family for something simple as that, something as simple as a training, something as simple as spending time with that animal. So it is it's a lifetime commitment, and it's something that could be fixed, in my opinion, with quality time with that animal. So initially, the officers are going to try to advise that citizen that there are programs available to reach out to the Animal Service Center for maybe some training or a trainer before we take that animal. Ultimately, though, if they say, no, I'm done, I can't do it, then we do take it. But you're right. We do our best to talk them out of it, but ultimately, at the end, it may be that hard decision where they don't want that responsibility and they're not going to make that commitment anyways. Okay. And it'd be better off to take them out of that environment and put them in another welcoming home than to leave them there.
No, absolutely. And I was just curious. I was curious if that was done. And Mr. Rolls, I don't know if you want to comment also, or if that is in line with what we do, but I think that's I know that's not necessarily what we want, and I just didn't know what was done in the field.
Chairman Sanchez and board. So I know for our officers, if it's for something that we think is trainable, like the dog playing too rough or peeing or anything like that, we do suggest to them that there are programs all over Las Cruces. We don't specify one specific one, but we do say, hey, there's several people in town that do training on this, so that way they could try to keep the animal. That way they know, it's just a little bit of training and they should be able to keep the dog. And for the 17 animals that were owner surrendered, we do, I know the county has the SNAP program, which is a spay-neuter action program that we work with for people to get spay-neuter for the animals, things like that. And I know that that's a property that we're still working on. They just got a little carried away with their animals not getting spay and neutered. And so those are things that we work with, especially for something like that. That's the first thing that we talk to them about. We have flyers for it and everything, so that way they can get in contact with them, and also for microchipping and make sure that they're up to date on their vaccinations and everything. So just to highlight for ours, and I can change it a little bit if you guys would like, that's just our general education. We do education on rabies and vaccinations and licensing as well. That's just not included in the general education, but I could add that to it if you'd like.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm open to it. I was just curious to understand, I think for my own education of understanding what it is the ACOs are dealing with, because I think we see all of these reasons, and I know, like I said, they go through so much, even trying to find, can they do a field, return to owner in the field and so on. So I know that the teams have a lot on their plate. I was just curious to understand, what we're doing with the public, because I think a lot of times, the only interaction they may have with an animal organization may be with the ACOs, and I don't know whether they'll go to the ASCMV. So like I said, that was just more for my education, so I appreciate it from both of y'all letting me know and giving me answers. So.
Yeah, I'm Boardman Sanchez. For us as well, our calls, we don't just go and pick up the animals. It could be a 5-minute call if we were just gonna go pick up the animals, but our average call time is usually between 10 to sometimes an hour, because we do the education. We discuss any questions that they have. We try to work with them to keep the animals on the property unless, like I said, there's just so many animals that it's not healthy for the animals or the owners, so.
Okay, great, thank you.
I have a
Councilor Flores, yes?
Yes, so I have a question for you two gentlemen. So do we have public service announcements that go out frequently in our media, our local stations? Have you been guests on the KRWG Friday afternoons at 1 o'clock? They have community people. Pretty much, and then throughout, talking about the radio station, and then 90.7, and then the actual TV station, in terms of just having maybe 30-second, announcements. Is that being done, or is that within your? Is it something that you could possibly do and just be a presence and maybe get? Something in the consistent announcements in the Las Cruces News or the Bulletin? Is that done, or is it possible?
Board Member Sanchez and Councilor Flores, as a matter of fact, I recently had the city PIO put out a PSA for mandatory microchipping, because as you see from our numbers, let me go back to that slide.
Yeah,
this slide right here, we would love to reduce that number, because if the citizens were to take heed of the ordinance and were to update their information on that microchipping, this number would reduce quite a bit as required by ordinance. So what I did is had the city PIO, Dan Trujillo, write out a PSA and put it out. As a matter of fact, it came out as a request from the last city council meeting. So there was a citizen that brought that up, and we put out that PSA. We are currently working on another PSA that should come out shortly that addresses the benefits of spaying and neutering your animals. So we don't want to flood, how would you say it, flood the market with all this information about animals, because there are other issues. However, we want to stay on top of it and make sure that we're driving our message through as well. It has been a very, very long time since I've spoken on the radio or been invited to speak on the radio. It was something I did when the shelter was ran by DAX, the Humane Society. I guess they had a 30-minute, yes, it was a long time ago. They had an hour or a 30-minute spot, and about once a month, the director at that time would invite me in, and we'd do the 30-minute spot with them. But it's been a long time.
Yeah, what I had in mind, because God knows you, we all know, I don't know about God knowing, but we all know that you're very, very busy. But I'm thinking more of something that is just, you don't have to be there in person, but something that is just aired periodically in our local stations, people are listening to. And the reason for it is because I know that I don't listen to the radio all day long, but when I'm driving or at home or whatever, and just have spots that come on. I think that KRWG would be willing to just have something almost like a band, just have it come on in a spot, and then in print. I think it'd be great if the Bulletin or Las Cruces Sun News would have this information highlighted in the publications. And I don't know if that's a function of, you're doing, the city, the county, the service center, but it's, yeah.
As far as for the county, I know that our PIO does put out stuff every now and again for us. I'm not directly involved in that part of it, but I do know as far as like our front staff at our office, if someone calls in, we give out a lot of information throughout there before they even get to central dispatch or to an officer. We refer to them to our county website that also has like our ordinance changes, since we just had the new ordinance changes and everything, and we try to educate as much as we can on the home front before they even get to the officers.
Yeah, that's great, and I really appreciate everything you do. It's a lot of work for you, a lot of work, and it's always heartbreaking to see a stray. So Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Flores, and I appreciate it. Sorry about that. And Gino, I don't know if there's anything else or any other questions for Supervisor Jimenez? No? All right. Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Okay, then we're on to item 5C, which is shelter statistics and activities. Mr. Thacker.
Good morning. ASCMV Board, Clint Thacker, Executive Director of the Animal Service Center, Mesilla Valley. Hopefully still after today, right? Yearly evaluation on the agenda. A little stressed, we'll see. What I bring to you today is the May numbers for the ASCMV. Currently 514 animals at the center. You see 381 dogs, 133 cats. Our intake, highest it's been in about 2.5 years, over 1,000, was for May. Incredible numbers, 608 dogs, 405 cats. This was a very alarming number. In fact, I went back and looked at it to make sure it was correct, but it was incredibly high and disheartening to see this many animals coming in. So what this means is the numbers you're going to be seeing as we have to keep population at an effort or at a level that we can care for. There's going to be more euthanasia. There's going to be more rescues trying to go out, a lot more efforts. So how those animals came in. As you can see, as expected, 53% came in from strays by the ACOs, 27% was strays by the public, and then the next biggest one is owner surrenders at 14%. We are constantly looking at ways that we can lower euthanasia rates and methods. Some of these, I mean, the intake is what it is. It's difficult to say, you know, don't bring this in, don't bring that in, but I know the ACOs try their best. The public is another hard one. We do set appointments for people to bring strays. Like I found a stray, they bring it in. We ask them, would you like to keep it? Try to find the owner for it. If they say yes, we'll give them some information. You know, we'll tell them to go for a walk, knock on doors, anything to keep that animal out. But as you can see, they still come in. Our returns, we only had 6 dogs come back. Behavior, lifestyle, and other pets incompatible were the reasons. So diverted intakes, 250 for those that are watching for the first time. Diverted intakes is any time an animal comes to the center, like the scenario I just used about an owner with a stray, and we say, I'm sorry, a person that has a stray animal, they come in, we give them the information, they go out and try to find it. Or somebody comes in with a dog, you know, I can't afford to feed it, we'll give them a bag of dog food. So this is diverted. It's a way that we can keep animals out of the center. One thing we are trying to find out how to do is how many of those animals we initially diverted, like this 250, how many come back into the center? That's the number we're trying to create or find without putting the animal into the Self to Love program. Because once we put them into the program, then they're counted. So we're trying to find a way where that's not able to be done. So our outcomes, 13% left adoptions, reclaims was only at 10%, rescued, 23% did a fantastic job of getting animals out. Unfortunately, our highest rate of leaving the center is at 30%, 30.5, and that's with euthanasia. That gives us our live release rate is the lowest it's ever been, again, in that 2.5 years, that's 64.3%. This is because, and you're going to see in 2 slides later, that we are full enough where the staffing is at a level where we can only keep so many animals in the center, so we have to hold it at that level where we're able to care for these animals in a proper way. These are our transfer partners that worked incredible with us in the month of May. Special thanks to them. Halo is always a big one. They are based in Arizona, and we make transports to them. I believe one's going today, so we thank you for working with them. But local ones, Action Program for Animals is always fantastic with our cats that help us, and dogs. So we appreciate all that they do for us, all the locals and all the rescues. So this is the euthanasia reason. As you can see, the biggest reason for dogs is medical behavior, space. It says space there because that's the reason why we euthanized them, but they were selected for euthanasia because of the medical issue. So if we had time and we had space, we would treat these animals and hold on to them for longer. As you can see, there are no healthy adoptable animals currently being euthanized for space. These are all legitimate reasons why. The next one is for behavior. They don't get along with their kennel mates, any kennel mates we fit with, or they have to be alone. There's also being very aggressive, barrier aggressive. I mean, there's so many different reasons for the behavior that is selected for euthanasia. The next highest ones for cats is feral. 27 were euthanized for feral for the cats. This is primarily the 2-mile river mark for the county one, is where that's coming from. We do not currently have the resources to relocate a cat. It takes significant resources to do that, building a kennel, feeding, keeping the animal in for several weeks, and then taking the things down, but still having somebody has to feed. We have reached out to see if anybody volunteering to do those things, and it's just so much of a commitment, people don't want to do it. May surgeries. So as you can see, the red is May. TNR surgeries, we're up there over 100 that we completed. We have the adoption surgeries, shelter, foster, and then the other that came in. So surgeries are happening, 270 in the month of May. Our volunteers in the month of May, you see there 315 volunteer hours. 429 total hours. Total volunteers is 315. Dog walking team, and they're coming on Sunday, I believe. This is where they make it a goal to walk every adoptable animal in the center, and they do it. And it is amazing to see. It's like a stream of dogs and people coming out and then back in. So every dog gets to be able to get walked on that Sunday and throughout the week as well. Throughout the month, they just grab animals, come out and do walks with them. The cat care team, I think sometimes these volunteers have a lot more fun than anybody else because you see them interacting and playing with the cats. After they clean and help us care for the cats, they get to play. Visitors in the month of May, we had almost 1,500 coming into the center. Web page views was really high, 39,000. I believe part of this was from our clinic, drive-through clinic that we did. People going there for more information. Same thing with our Facebook views. The most ever we've ever had is at 13,600. So we're excited about that. Very much so. Again, it all comes from people liking the page and viewing the page, which is awesome.
I think that's a sign that you need more polydactyl cats on your Facebook.
Right? Yeah. You know, funny story if I can really for that one. So three cats had the polydactyl, which is more than 5 paws on a hand. One cat did not. So there's 4. Was there 4 polydactyl cats? And then one cat did not. So the one cat that did not polydactyl but came from the same litter, still there. Nobody wanted any interest in it. So we're thinking about gluing on extra toes and things like that, so people, or just saying it's polydactyl and then, oh, sorry. No, we wouldn't do that. But yeah, it's definitely interest for individuals, novelty, but they love it. So our upcoming events coming up, We are busy a lot. Summertime is here for sure. Lucky Dog Billiards coming up on the 1st. These are all adoption events. Spotted Dog Brewery on the 15th. That's a popular one among my coworkers. The Farmers Market, July 8th, and then PetSmart will be July 22nd. I do want to show or tell you some numbers that we did at our drive-through clinic. You may or may not have seen these online. We did, but this is in June, but I'm really excited and I want to tell you about it. So 500, and this is from 9 a.m. until 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock. 531 rabies vaccines, 463 DHPP, which is the distemper and parvo vaccine, 214 Bordetella, 71 FVRCP, which is the cat vaccine, 254 microchips from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. So a total of, I don't even know what that is, thousands of vaccines that we did. So I'm really proud of my coworkers in pulling that off. As you know, it does a lot. It's incredible for us to be able to hold those. The next one we have set is October 15th. Coming up, same location, so you'll be seeing that coming out. We're already looking for sponsors and who would like to cover everything from vaccines to microchips. So if you know anybody that would be interested in sponsoring large numbers of microchips or vaccines, let us know, and we can reach out to them.
Sorry, can you just repeat when that is again?
October 15th.
Okay, thank you.
We would like to get sponsors all set and done by September 1st. So that'll give everybody, or that'll get time to get radio ads done and flyers done. So, my phone is blowing up because my fabulous coworkers are watching this as well. They want me, one, to let you know that on a case-by-case basis, if somebody comes and brings animals to us and they have a whole litter, we'll say, yeah, we'll take those litters for free if we can sterilize mom and dad. So we have that program goes by, and then the other one is we made a big announcement in the June Conversations at the Center that we are discontinuing that program. That's where I would on Zoom just have a meeting and people would send me questions. We're discontinuing it because we are starting a podcast. It's called Tales, Tails, from the PA side. And what in that is going to be Conversations at the Center. So we're setting up a jot form where anybody can submit questions on a public, and we can answer those. So a segment of the podcast will be Conversations with the Center. We also have fun things inside that. Some of them are called like Sit Happens. You know, have a bad part. We'll have Henry's Corner. Henry's the cat that's at the center. So we can talk about, I don't know, that might be front office things. So it'll be a fun presentation, a fun podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Apple. But what I'm bringing this up for is we're going to also ask Gino and the county to come on and be part of that conversation every now and then, so we can get them, like he said, I've been here for 5 years, and Dr. Beth was there for 8, I think. And so it was, a long time since he's been on the radio, so we need to hear that beautiful radio voice that he has. So get him back on the air. I believe that's all I have. Is there any questions?
Thank you, Clint. Are there any questions? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well then we're on now to committee reports. We'll start with the Finance Committee, and I don't know if Ms. Demush, if you might be able to provide the update for that.
Yes, thank you, Board Chair. For the record, my name's Leanne Demush, and I'm the Finance Director for the city. So, board members, we did meet the Finance Committee with Bernice and Clint. It was last week. The financials from Mr. Saffel are attached. The Animal Service Center is well within the budget parameters, which is about 91% right now for this end. As you know, we only have 9 days left in this fiscal year. I'm counting them down. So we will be presenting the quarterlies at the next meeting. Mr. Saffel announced at the finance meeting that we will have a new accountant that will be presenting to the board. This will be her first year. She just graduated from New Mexico State University and has actually been with the city for quite a while. So she's been going to school and working for the city, and we're very proud of her. Her name is Veronica Yonoa. And so Veronica will be at the next meeting presenting to you. Also at the Finance Committee, we invited our city clerk, Christine Ramirez, who gave a presentation. Rivera. Yes, thank you. Yeah, sorry, Christine. And Christine came because one of the tools that the city is using for resolutions is called iCompass. And since the board meetings are recorded, through the portal for the city, we're going to be converting over to using iCompass for our resolutions. And so in the next couple of months, I'll be working with Bernice and Clint, and we'll be making that conversion over for the resolutions. It's a great tool for the city, and I think Bernice and Clint will really enjoy the iCompass, and it goes through a workflow, and it's a very nice tool that we use. Other than that, if you have any questions about the financials, Josh is not here today. Rocio's out there, but we will be presenting those at the next, and everything right now is looking very well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Musha. Are there any questions? All right. Then we move on to the Executive Committee, which we met, myself, Mayor Pro Tem, and Mr. Thacker. Some of the things we kind of highlighted or discussed was the vacancies that we have with the staff. And even, I know, while not in the meeting, one of the other topics that we may want to potentially look at in the future of the board is the vet position and trying to address that in terms of salary. So that may be something that comes up here for the board to review. Along with the vacancies, we talked on some of the lag time or to be able to fill some of the positions and the items that they're working through. We talked on the kennels and delivery, and I don't know if that's something that we'll talk or, okay. And so I know, okay, got it. I don't know, would you be able to provide an update real quick on the kennels, Clint? Sorry, I didn't want to step on the toes of the facility, so I just wanted to make sure. Got it.
Clint Thacker, Executive Director. Again, the kennels are coming along fine. Do you want a current one or as of the facility's date?
We'll say the current one now.
Okay, so they are currently being installed. However, there was a misunderstanding in the ordering. We're talking with the designer of the center, because dogs, when they look at each other, there's a sight thing, right? You got the aggression issue. So sight, sound, and smell. So we requested that the kennels either be frosted at the bottom half or a plastic panel, and neither of those were done. So it's a big, beautiful glass front. So we're talking with what we can do. We can't, on the outside of it, we can always just add a frosting. We did that to some of the windows in the euthanasia and intake room of the center. So we know we can add it, but there's going to be an added cost there. And it can be done afterwards before any animals come in. But that is one hiccup. The install is going great. The first week they had one person doing it, and now the second week they have brought in extra bodies. So it's moving along really well.
Great. And I know, while we're on to the next topic, we talked on the concrete. I know we talked on the last meeting, making some of the financial adjustments for that. And if you can give an update on that as well.
So the concrete, we are moving money. It won't take place before July, obviously. So we had to move the money, and that's one of the resolutions you'll see today is moving the money over to the next budget, so that money is available. The project manager with the city is currently collecting quotes, so the project is moving ahead while we're not spending any money, if that makes sense. Yep. So we look forward to getting that laid down and completed in July.
Great. Thank you. And then the only, I think the last item that I had that we talked about was going to be trying to prepare for today's meeting and the annual review for Mr. Thacker. So, but that was everything on the executive committee. I don't know if anybody has any questions. All right, hearing none, then I guess the facilities, but I think there was no. Got it? Okay. So I think we're good with the facilities update, so thank you, Clint. All right. With that, we'll move on to our section with action items. Agenda item 6A, Resolution 2023-07, to repeal the resolutions 2023-04 and Resolution 2023-05. If I can get a motion and a second to begin discussion.
So moved. Shelter Hernandez.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there a second?
Seconded, Corin.
Thank you, Councilor Corin. All right. Clint? Or whoever. Mr. Boucher.
I'll be up here for support, but I'll let you take it.
Thank you so much, Board Chair, board members. At the last meeting, after the resolutions for the two resolutions that follow this, it was noticed that the Exhibit A were not correct. I did confer with our clerk, Christine, and asked her, if this is the process that we should take. So what she had recommended, and we also talked to DFA with the state, their recommendation was that we repeal these and we just bring them forward with the correct exhibits. So that is what the three next resolutions are. And we could have probably asked to suspend the rules and talk about all of them and then approve all three, but I don't know if that is something that but anyway, but that is what the next three resolutions are about, is repealing last month's and then bringing them forward with the exhibits corrected.
That's my complete understanding as well.
Okay. And I know that was the discussion we had from at the end of the last meeting. So with that understanding, I don't know if there are any questions on the repeal of the previous resolutions. All right. Not hearing or seeing any. So then if I can get a roll call on resolution 2023-07.
Board Member Macias?
Yes.
Board Member Flores?
Yes.
Board Member Corran?
Yes.
Board Member Shayla Hernandez?
Yes.
Board Member Gandara?
Yes.
Chair Sanchez?
Yes.
Passes.
All righty. So that passes. And then we're on then to resolution 2023-08. It's a resolution to accept the $2,500 from the McCune Foundation microchip grant. So this is the first of these corrections. If I can get a motion in a second for discussion.
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Flores.
Seconded by Corin.
Seconded by Councilor Corin. All right.
I do have a quick question, and again, I don't want to belabor this at all, if that's okay.
Yeah, please.
Okay. So in this one, and in this series of two, but I'll just talk about the first and then the second. In both cases, the adjusted budget is like not the adjusted budget. You know what I mean? So when we add the 25, it's more for the question is more for the next one, but I just want to make sure that we're all clear before we approve any of them, so that the Exhibit A's are correct. We add the 2,500 into the 545 under local grants and that line of Exhibit A. So that makes sense. But then in the next one, it starts from the 545 which I guess makes sense. So in both cases, though, it comes out to the same, or the amount that comes out is not the amount that we're getting to. You know what I mean?
So is that a question?
It's a question, I guess, for Leanne, which is the 620 that's reflected in the second one reflecting both? Is it reflecting one and not the other? And is that okay? That's all. I just want to make sure that it's okay that that's the way it's going, and I don't want to accidentally mess it up again like we did last time.
So Board Chair, Board Member Corin, the adjusted budget for the second well, actually, the third resolution that's being shown, that is correct, the 62-0. The amended budget should have included the 2,500, but as long, for DFA purposes, as long as that 620-019 is there, then we're okay.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure because I don't want us to, thank you. I appreciate it.
And Board Chair, and thank you, Councilor Coran, because when we do these back-to-back like this, sometimes when the data that we're pulling out of the ERP system, it just gets a little, but as long as that adjusted budget is correct, that is what is being sent to the state.
Okay, thank you. That's what I was hoping to confirm. Thanks.
So Councilor Corrinan, I just want to make sure I'm following here. So is it around the total revenues? Or are we, and the line for the grants, because you were saying the 620, but when you look at the total revenues on the second after having 75,000, it's lower.
I wasn't even looking at the total revenues.
Oh, no, sorry, I'm sorry, no, never mind, I apologize. I'm looking at two different things here.
Okay.
I see the expenditures. Okay, never mind. I apologize, I was looking at the wrong line. So I follow you now.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it seems like that's right on.
I apologize,
so thank you,
yeah.
And thanks.
Okay, are there any other questions? All right, then if there's not hearing or seeing any other questions or comments, if we can get a roll call on Resolution 2023-08.
Board Member Macias.
Yes.
Board Member Flores.
Yes.
Board Member Coran.
Yes.
Board Member Shayla Hernandez.
Yes.
Board Member Gondara.
Yes.
Chair Sanchez.
Yes,
Passes.
thank you. All right, then on Resolution 2023-09, it's a resolution to accept the $75,000 from Petco Love Animal Welfare Organization grant. If we get a motion in a second.
So moved, Shelter Hernandez.
Second by Flores.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Shelter Hernandez and a second by Councilor Flores. Is there any questions, comments on this resolution? All right, not hearing or seeing any. If I can get a roll call on 2023-09.
Board Member Macias.
Yes.
Board Member Flores.
Yes.
Board Member Coran.
Yes.
Board Member Shayla Hernandez.
Yes.
Board Member Gondara.
Yes.
Chair Sanchez.
Yes.
Passes.
All right, then we're on to the last resolution for consideration today. It's Resolution 2023-10. It's to carry forward grant funds and to adjust the fiscal year 24 budget. If I can get a motion in a second, please.
Move to approve.
Second by Flores.
All right, we have a motion by Councilor Corrin and a second by Councilor Flores. Are there any questions on this one? Or please, Clint, I don't want to steal the show from you.
No, it's the Clint Thacker, you're exactly right. You all know what this is for, is to continue that money over so we can make purchases in July for the cement. And other items. Some of the other items. So one big thing we found out is that the center does not have Wi-Fi. It was taken out by the city at some point. The same thing happened with the swimming pool. So the swimming pool that was just completed has no active Wi-Fi. So with finding this out, we immediately talked with the IT department. The director of IT currently did not know about that as well. It was done before he took over. We don't even know if it made it to IT for discussion. It sounds like it was just a, hey, new construction isn't going to have Wi-Fi kind of a thing. So in order to fix the issue, it's going to cost about $15,000 to get that equipment in. The wireless access points, server, all those. So that's what also this money is also going to be used for, is bringing it over.
Thank you. And I was actually thinking you meant that the swimming pool was taken out of the ASCMV for a second. All right, are there any questions on this resolution? All right, not hearing, seeing any. If we can get a roll call.
Board Member Macias.
Yes.
Board Member Flores.
Yes.
Board Member Coran.
Yes.
Board Member Shayla Hernandez.
Yes.
Board Member Gondara.
Yes.
Chair Sanchez.
Yes.
Passes.
Okay, thank you. All right, then we're on to public input. Are there any members of the public that would like to provide input? All right, not seeing any, so we'll move on to chair and board comments. Are there any comments from the board at this time? All right. Then, before, I guess it calls for an adjournment on the commission, but I think before we do, I think we need to actually take a motion to enter closed session? Or do we just enter into and then we'll come back and read the statement? All right. So in that case.
Board comments?
No, there were no board comments. Yeah, we already said that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Did you have comments?
I did.
Okay, I apologize. Please. Mayor
I'm
Pro
so
Tem.
sorry, I'm distracted. Yeah, thank you, Chair Sanchez. I wanted to bring up, we've had numerous concerns brought to the attention of our city council related to animal services, animal welfare, one being the veterinarian, the spade and neuter, the community cats, just a series of things that have come up, and one of them was around mandatory spade and neutering. And I promised that I would bring it up at this board and address it in some way here, but also moving into the possibility of passing an ordinance related to mandatory spade and neutering. And so I don't know if we need to have this conversation with this board or bring it to, at one time we had formed a small task force. Councilor Flores and I, before Council Curran got elected into office, we'd had this task force that was meeting and looking at the current ordinance and bringing it kind of up to snuff, quote unquote. So I'm not sure what we need to do around that, and I don't know if I have the support of the membership on this board, but I wanted to bring that up, and maybe it's a work session. I'm not sure how to move in that direction, but I wanted to bring it up because I said I would. So hopefully the people from that particular organization is listening and would take it as a good faith effort in moving forward.
So just really quickly, I did follow up with, the animal ordinance as proposed by the community organization is already actually within the city's sort of ordinance consideration hopper. So it's been shared. There have been some original community meetings with some folks that were involved, and now it sounds like, according to Barbara, who is working with City Manager Macias or County Manager and Assistant County Manager, and some of animal control folks, there have been some meetings to review both ordinances and trying to align them as much as possible, but also looking at the areas of change and potential things like that. And then, so the idea was that the staff would be doing this initial review, and then community advocates and folks would be invited to the table as well. So I think, and the ASCMV eventually, but I think the city, we have to make sure that we check all of our boxes as well. So it sounds like that is in progress. I think it looks like there might be a meeting scheduled for June 29th for the internal folks to be doing the review that I know of. So.
Thank you, Councilor Corn. Councilor Flores, please.
So I need to catch up on all of this, and also just to say that when we met for several years on that task force, so it seemed like an eternity. And a lot of the people, with all due respect, who have been unhappy with, whatever it was that we worked on, now we're going back to the drawing board. And so my concern is that, we met wasn't it like twice a month, Mayor Pro Tem, or every Friday afternoon or something? I mean, we would meet at the end of the day, like from about 3 o'clock till about 6 or 7 sometimes.
No,
No, what was that?
no, it was 3 to 5.
Okay, excuse me, it was 3 to 5. Gino was there. Okay, we met from 3 to 5, but it felt like an eternity. And didn't it seem like a long time? And then, and we went through it with a fine-tooth comb, and I know that I spoke with Joe Ruprecht extensively about it. And again, with all due respect, people are coming back, some of the same people are coming back and saying that we did it all wrong. The city did it all wrong. And it's like, well, no, this was a joint process. I mean, everybody participated, everybody piped up. Over and over again, we piped up, I include myself. And it's kind of like, what's the word? It's like, you know, going back to ground zero. And are we going to make it better? And that's my concern. And I'm not sure that this is to correct some of the wrongs or to add something new that was omitted. And so I have a lot of questions, a lot of doubts as to successful outcomes, only because there are so many people at the table with many various, many perspectives, well, let's leave it at perspectives, and ideas as to what's important and what's not. It's a tedious task. I'm just alerting everybody that it's a big commitment. And I don't know if we really want to go back to the drawing board. I thought that spay and neuter was already in the ordinance, that it was required. It's not. For some reason, I thought it was there already. And if it's going to be required, it has to have some teeth. It has to have funding. I mean, we can require it from here to the moon, but if people can't afford it, I mean, taking my dog to a vet because she had a little bump, you know, cost $90. You know, I mean, it's very expensive to have an animal. So anyway, those are my concerns. I don't want to in any way dissuade. However, I think that it's something that really is going to take a lot of work, and it's a big time commitment, huge. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
I appreciate that. I was co-chair with David Dollahan when David Dollahan was here. So it is at least more than 5 years, I think. It was a huge commitment, took us a long time. There were a lot of competing demands and competing interests, but I see it as a way to improve what we currently have. And the population and what looks like today at the center was very different 5 years ago to this point. So I feel like it's evolving, and we should always evolve, and maybe it's saying we look at it every 5 years. You know, most strategic plans are 3 to 5 year, which, by the way, we haven't had yet, and I've been asking to segue into the strategic planning session. It needs to be looked at regularly because things are ever changing, right? And I just think of it as a way to improve our processes and our ordinances that we have in place. And so I don't know about, I think there's a sour taste sometimes about the cat, community cat, the trap neuter release, and that was a big sticking point for those advocates and for all of us, right? We wanted to do it right, and we've over time increased, I can say with certainty, we've increased the budget at the center to be able to do some of that and change in the way that we see fit. So I think it warrants having I thank you, Councilor Coran, for updating us. I didn't quite know what was happening. And again, I'd like to remind those of us on these kinds of committees or groups that, that I'm not involved in, that we need to do, we need to be informed, and the way we do it is in these board meetings, is informing people that, these kinds of things are happening, so we don't feel like blindsided. And so I was just trying to do my due diligence, and I'm looking forward to hearing more from Barbara De Leon and Judge Macias related to that aspect. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Go ahead, Councilor Flores.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem Board Member Gandara. I was looking. I can't even remember who was in the meeting. Definitely Barbara De Leon. I think maybe was it you, Becky, or maybe Cassandra. I know I was there, and Barbara was there, and we were looking at the ordinances that the county has and what we have to see how the twain would meet insofar as meeting the needs in the county and the city, and all of it really coming down a lot. It's like the Animal Service Center is the one that, and this board, I mean, it's almost like a bicameral type thing. So I'm just wondering how we are going to make, we're going to look at ours as a task force, but where does the county come in on that? And how do we mesh the two so that they're consistent and we're therefore hopefully on the right page? Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Flores. And I think it'd be curious, I think, if, as Mayor Pro Tem Gandara had mentioned, I think if we have, at least in terms of this board, being able to maybe have that discussion as part of maybe a strategy meeting and understand what the impacts and how the ASCMV views and has some input to that. But obviously, I think, as you're saying, I think we'd have, I think the city would have to would work on your side, the county would have to work on our side. And I don't know that that's something we've even had.
We've had that task force that I'm speaking of was jointly done. We had county and city representation, and we moved through that through a year and a half probably. So I would imagine that's what it would look like. But I caution the city and county representatives currently that are having these discussions to not do it in a vacuum, to do it where people are involved in that process, because there's a lot of thoughts about this, a lot.
Yep.
And so I would caution us to meet to kind of get the foundation, and then start spreading it on to other advocates or people who want to do that, if that's the will of the board and will of council. I'm not sure. I haven't been involved in these meetings, so that would be my suggestion.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I appreciate it. All right. Are there any other board comments? All right. And not hearing any, then I will ask for a motion and a second to adjourn.
So moved by Flores.
Thank you, Councilor Flores.
Nobody wants a second?
No, wait, are we supposed to be doing this? Or?
Well, I don't know. That's what I guess that was my initial question was, I think whether we adjourn and then we'll go into closed session and then come back on our next meeting, which would be July 27th, and we'll make the statement at that point.
Oh, okay. So do we want Clint to wait until we call him back?
Yes.
Okay, just giving him direction. Thank you. We're going into closed session.
Yeah, right after this.
Yeah.
Oh, a second.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion by Councilor Flores, a second by Mayor Pro Tem Gandara to adjourn. If I can get a roll call, please.
Board Member Macias?
Yes.
Board Member Flores?
Yes.
Board Member Corran?
Yes.
Board Member Shayla Hernandez?
Yes.
Board Member Gandara?
Yes.
Chair Sanchez?
Yes. All right, we'll call this meeting adjourned at 10:21 a.m. Thank you all for joining us. Our next meeting will be July 27th, 2023.